have the agenda during the study session. No one requested any changes to the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as as presented? By Councilmember Teeman, seconded by Councilmember Smotherson. Is there a discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. You'll see on the agenda that we have a proclamation for Arquilla Eileen Williamson's 80th birthday. So I think all members of council have signed that and we'll move forward. You have before you the draft study session minutes from January 26, 2026 of the Residential Survey and Public Safety Technology. Is there a motion to approve? Motion made by Councilmember Fuller. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Brenner. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. You have before you the February 23rd, 2026 study session minutes of Great Rivers Greenway. Is there a motion to approve? Motion made by Councilmember Teeman, seconded by Councilmember Smotherson. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. February 23rd, regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Motion made by Councilmember McMahon, seconded by Councilmember Smotherson. Is there a discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Let's see. Councilmember.
Just for clarification on the approval of January 26th and February 23rd study sessions, I abstained. I was not present.
Thanks. I'm sure the city clerk will note that we had an abstention on those two study session minutes. Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Councilmember Fuller.
Honorable Mayor, you ready? Okay. I'd like to nominate Christopher Marshall to the Planning Commission.
Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember McMahon. Is there a discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. We have no swearings in. This is our first section of citizen participation. For those of you who are in the audience, when you come in the door, there are sheets of paper that you can fill out to speak to council on either agenda items or non-agenda items. All we ask is that you delineate which agenda item you want to speak on, or if you would like to speak on a non-agenda item. They are always called in the order in which they are given. When you come to the microphone, please press the button and you need to give your name and address, and you are limited to 5 minutes. Let's see, we have, since I know our first one that I've been given is on a non-agenda item. See, non-agenda item, a non-agenda item. There we go. We may not get all of you at the first section. The first section is at 15 minutes, but we'll try to get as many through as we can. First request to speak is Tom Sullivan.
Tom Sullivan, 751 Syracuse, 63130. I have a few things to mention. First, if the mayor wanted to have a State of the City address, it should have been held earlier this year, not a month before the election. Mr. Crow, you seem to have a continual problem understanding fairness in elections. What you did was to take advantage of your position to have a forum that did not include your opponent. With the State of the Union address, the opposition party to the president is given the opportunity to respond, even if the president is not running for re-election. It's all about fairness. Now there is a study session to update the Third Ward revitalization. It's more interesting timing, as the committee has been quiet for some time. There's still the ongoing problem with streetlights that are out. 4 streetlights out at Olive and Kingsland have been out for 8 months or so. This is one of the busiest intersections in the city. There's another streetlight out nearby on Chamberlain, right across from Shelley Welsh Park. There are 2 other flickering lights down the block. There are other lights around the city too. On his website, the chief of police points out how light is helpful with fighting crime. City management seems not to agree. There are numerous dumpsters on the east end of the city that need new covers. This presents a health hazard as it attracts rats and allows leakage from garbage when it rains, which there has been a lot of recently. There are still utility wires hanging down in places. If city inspectors drove through the alleys once in a while, they might be surprised at what they find. There still needs some attention to missing covers at the base of streetlight poles. This is where the high voltage wires connect to the wires for the streetlight. If a youngster would happen to put his hand in there, he could be electrocuted. There's a long list of improvements needed in the city. spring would be a good time to start addressing some of them. Thank you for listening to my comments.
Guys, thank you very much. Our next request to speak is Rosalind Williams.
Is it on now?
You're on.
Okay. My name is Rosalind Williams. I live at 7408 Chamberlain Avenue, University City. I've been up here a number of times, and I keep getting frustrated by you guys because I don't see any action or any understanding that there is $10 million that's supposed to go to the third ward from the TIF. And I know there is supposed to be there because I put it there with the approval of the TIF Commission and the council. Now, we're talking about pilot programs, home improvement. Do you know that that $10 million that nobody recognizes should have been added to the bonds that the developer put out in order to pay for their $70,500,000 expenses? And according to the original developer, those funds would have been paid back, the $10 million from the city would have been paid back first, which means that if we had done something 8 years ago at the time, or 5, whatever, we would have had those monies available to be leveraged with HUD funds, and a lot of other monies that we could do a more comprehensive program that actually makes a difference in the third ward than we are up against now. HUD is out of the business of housing, really is. And if you happen to be in the wrong party, you just don't get any funds at all, okay? So I don't want to waste any more of the city's time, but we need to face up to the fact that the $10 million that the city manager was talking about is not the same as this $10 million that comes from the TIF. I don't care what he said. I know that those monies should be there and that the city should do something quickly about it in order to be able to do a really good job in the third ward. The third ward deserves that attention. I want to make some comments on the home improvement proposals. I've had over 45 years of home improvement, running home improvement programs of various types. I think, unfortunately, UCity does not respect experience. I have volunteered my time, worked for the city. I keep trying to get people to understand what is needed in order to do an improvement of the third ward. And so I would like to volunteer my time to work with the staff here to really do a very good redevelopment plan. You have issues like the third ward is north of Olive. North of Olive is the demarcation line for redlining. And redlining has been continuing on to today. I have been working on trying to change the appraisal system so that your house will appraise for the same value as a house in the second and first ward if they're comparable. That is something that the banks fight against, but we have to change that system in order to make changes in the third ward, because that is the source of the devaluation in that neighborhood. And so I want to be taken seriously. I mean, I have the experience. I have 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards, one from the Planning Association and the other one from East West Gateway. I mean, I don't tell people that often, but it seems that I have to have credentials in order to be heard. I'm really tired and I'm afraid for the third ward. There are investors moving in. They've taken over. When I was working for the short time for the city, they had about 40% of the housing units. And they're charging market rate rents that are much higher than they should have been, which means that people are suffering. You don't have a home improvement program also based on $15,000. What in the world are you going to do for $15,000 to houses that haven't been able to be invested in? You work on code enforcement, and I'll stop there. But and Wayne was definitely there to work on the TIF. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next request to speak is Patrick Fox.
My name is Patrick Fox. I live at 1309 Purdue Avenue in University City. I want to first thank you all for allowing the community to engage in you as you embark upon the search for the next city manager. I do think it's important, and I do have looked over the qualifications for the posting that you have. I think one thing you may want to consider is perhaps removing the residency requirement, because that is something that others have removed, particularly the city of St. Louis removed it in 2023 for all non-emergency personnel. The qualifications that you are looking for really are clearly outlined in that. So I wanted to make sure, kudos to you and the management company that you all hired to do that. But as a citizen that's had a different experience than some others in dealing with the prior city manager, I think it's important to share some characteristics you might want to not look for in the next city manager. So I have a list. The next city manager should not believe that it is appropriate to require their approval for recommendations of boards and commissions, and that they and they alone are the only one authorized to make recommendations to the city council. They should not outwardly disrespect citizens in public meetings who dare to question whether clearly outlined processes, ordinances, and charter requirements were followed. They should not create inequity in compensation of all that they would be supervising, including uniformed and non-uniformed employees, by receiving both a city pension and additional contributions into a non-pension retirement account from city sources. They should not allow the police department leadership to repeatedly lie and mislead the public about the performance of their duties and fail to hold the police accountable for anything. They should encourage accountability and transparency in police operations. They should not make no meaningful effort to be present for and participate in boards and commissions to have a better understanding of the feedback and recommendations. They should not be well known by other municipalities in the region as a person who is extremely difficult to collaborate with, which resulted in countless missed opportunities on learning best practices from metro area subject matter experts to improve the lives of University City residents. They should not mislead and obfuscate the truth to serve their own agenda and will. They should not do nothing to notably improve the city's financial position. They should not make monumental mistakes in distinguishing point of sale and pool sales tax delineation and recommendations made to this council. They should not reallocate park and stormwater funds to support debt service on the new police facility. They should not make no progress whatsoever in engaging Washington University in meaningful positive financial impact in University City. They should not allow a culture of ineptitude and apathy to flourish in city government. And they should not stifle innovation and encourage civil service employees to continue to operate in antiquated manners despite numerous financial investments in systems to improve processes and citizen interactions with public services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next request to speak is Pat McQueen.
Hello, my name is Patricia McQueen. I live at 1132 George Street, University City, Missouri. You know the zip code 63130. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city attorney, and interim city manager. Thank you for your service to University City. I'll take just a moment to clarify one point about the Market at Olive Development. As a longtime University City resident and someone who witnessed the early discussions, I'm speaking tonight to respectfully clarify a reoccurring miscommunication about who helped spearhead the Market at Olive development. I've heard the same miscommunications repeatedly over years. Former Councilwoman Paulette Carr played a meaningful role in advancing that project, and her service to this community is widely respected. However, it is important that the historical record accurately reflects that this work was not done by one person alone. Two additional individuals played significant roles in moving the Market at Olive project forward and deserve to be recognized alongside her. One is Rosalind Williams, you heard earlier, a University City resident with extensive experience in economic development and urban planning. Her insight helped identify the appropriate developer for a complex and unusual TIF redevelopment effort designed to attract investment to fund the Third Ward revitalization and support redevelopment along Olive Boulevard. The other person is Third Ward Councilman and Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Smotherson, whose leadership and advocacy was also essential in advancing the project. His contribution was ignored in the recent State of the University City, Missouri address last week. If you mention Paulette, you must mention Wayne and Rosalind. I share this not as a speculation, but as someone who witnessed early strategy discussions, including meetings in the Loop, where the groundwork for this project began to take shape. When we tell the story of the city's important developments, accuracy matters. Recognition matters, and collaboration should be acknowledged where it occurred. So I respectfully ask that when the Market at Olive development is discussed publicly, the contributions of Paulette Carr, Wayne Smotherson, and Rosalind Williams are recognized together. Good history recognizes the full team, not just one name. Doing so honors not just the individuals, but the collaborative leadership that helped bring this project to fruition. Recognition should reflect the reality of collaboration. When we tell the story of Market at Olive, we should tell the whole story. So for the public record, the Market at Olive development was advanced through the combined efforts of Paulette Carr, Rosalind Williams, and Wayne Smotherson. Thank you for your time and service to University City.
We have time to get in one more. Charles Price. Please hit the button at the bottom and then give your name and address, please.
My name is Charles Price. My address is 1565 Quindole. I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak before this crowd. Also want to declare that I'm a Mercy High School graduate. Any Mercy High School people? Come on with it, big dog. In saying that, you know, we have a lot of history here. And although our school is gone, our spirit is still here alive. I recently had a chance to last year to restart a block unit called the Raby Park Block Unit. And when searching for help for the Raby Park block unit, I did talk to Mr. Clay a little bit, a lot of extensive talk, but Wayne Smotherson, also Shed and Invest St. Louis, along with Mr. Rosalind, a multitude of people. But what I was really upset about on our travels, me and several of my neighbors, Mr. Brace back there, we traveled to City Hall.
I think you hit the button there.
Sorry. What we, oh, you know, I told it. Okay. I did go to Mercy though. Instruction is important. And so when we got there, we went up to visit and meet with the city manager and also the mayor because we thought this was really appropriate. We wanted to really grow the Raby Park area. I was told that the city manager was unavailable at the time. And as we were moving back and forth, a couple of my constituents here, we did run into the city manager who gave us a small amount of time, which was, I guess, was expected because he had a lot of busy stuff to do. But we did not get a chance to see the mayor. Matter of fact, this might be the third time I've ever seen you in my life. You're a handsome rascal, but that's for sure. But let me tell you this. I think as a constituent, I'd like to see more of the mayor in the third ward to see what is going on and how we're improving our city in that area. When I was recently told about the state of the city, like the young lady who just spoke, I also did not hear the story I was told by some of the constituents that helped me start the block unit that our representative in this area, Dwayne Smotherson, was a big part of the Olive Corridor. And it was important to me to know that because last month, I guess, was Black History Month, and we needed to know some of the things that Black men and women have done in University City. We thought that was really important. And I want to stand here and say thank you because that's what our kids, our community, and all need to see. And as I was told by an individual who attended that meeting that Mr. Smother's son's name was not put out there. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we at the Raby Park area appreciate what you've done. Real quickly, when we were starting this block unit, Mr. Smotherson also again allowed us to meet some very big players in St. Louis County. And we gained $1,500 to improve our block unit and have a party to celebrate, which we made invitations to, but we didn't get much involvement except by our aldermen. And we thank you for that. At the end of the day, as I see our city grow and been a part of it, I, as a constituent here and a believer in University City, would like to make sure that people who are involved in our community be involved with us too. Get to know us, be involved with us. That's why we showed up here, to know you guys. And that's why I stated what I said about Mercy High School, being a proud member of University City. And I like to go on to say and finish with this. We appreciate the people who get down and work hard with us. This is not an easy task. We got a lot of things to do. We want to thank our aldermen, our Raby Park guys and girls back here for the push in this community to make your time and effort applicable to us. And it was very special, and we thank you for that. And I thank you for letting us say that here before you all. Go Bulldog, right on.
Thank you very much. That concludes our citizen participation for this section. There'll be another section towards the end of the agenda. You have before you, council members, a public hearing notice for Mosab Restaurant at 6665 Olive. Si- 6665 Olive. I will open the hearing at 6:57 PM on this matter. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No,
Madam Clerk, do we have any written comments that we have received?
no.
Are there any questions from any members of council regarding the Mosab Restaurant public hearing? If not, I will declare the public hearing closed at 6:58 PM. You have before you a consent agenda, liquor license for Mosab Restaurant and disposition of eligible police department documents. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion made by Councilmember Smotherson. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember McMahon. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Ms. Sharp.
Honorable Mayor Crowe, members of the City Council, this first item asks you all to receive a a presentation from Becky Alvin on a site development plan for 1004 Pennsylvania Avenue. My understanding of the situation is that you all approved, I guess, the project initially with some conditions. And there is a request to remove the condition of additional parking spaces shall be constructed using permeable materials. I do want to point out that you will note that I recommended a denial of this request as I have not seen any changes that would require you all to reconsider your condition that you put in place for very good reason. That said, we did receive a request to speak this morning from the applicant as well as a presentation from them. So they will speak after Becky and Stephen Strickland, who is our senior planner, present this item to you and answer any questions you have of staff. Becky?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Becky Alvin, Interim Planning and Zoning Director. Before you is a site plan review for 1004 Pennsylvania Avenue. This parcel was rezoned in March 2022. And when it went through Planning Commission, there were 3 conditions of approval placed on that zoning map amendment. The number 1 is that the redevelopment of the site shall meet the parking requirements for the number of units proposed. Number 2 is additional parking spaces shall be constructed using permeable materials. And number 3, a landscape plan shall be submitted for review and approval with the site plan. The Planning Commission put those conditions on the rezoning and City Council approved them. As part of this site plan submittal, the applicant is requesting the removal of condition 2 regarding permeable pavement materials. I do have Senior Planner Stephen Strickland here to help answer some of the more technical questions any of you may have.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Stephen Strickland, Senior Planner. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have on the presentation.
Well, I'll look at my colleagues and say my guess is we probably want to hear from the applicant as well, and then we may have additional questions because I think this may be, I've been on this council a long time. We haven't been in this situation for some time. So my colleagues are welcome to ask any questions as they like, or would you like to hear from the applicant as well so we have a better understanding of what the situation is? Is everybody okay, copacetic with doing that? We have a request to speak from the applicant, and maybe we can get a little bit more information, and then council can ask questions both of the city and of the applicant. I believe, is it John Nilges? Please come forward and give your name and address. You're limited to 5 minutes, but then we'll probably start asking questions. So then you're off the clock. How's that?
That sounds
That
wonderful.
fair
I
enough?
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, first off, good evening, Mayor, Council, staff members. Appreciate this opportunity. Once again, my name is John Nelgis. I'm the owner of an engineering company, Excelsior Engineering, located in New Haven, Missouri, a little bit further west of you all. But I was hired by the developer, Mr. Will Schmidt, which is Kingdom Works LLC, who is the redeveloper of the property, to come and present this to you this evening. I was brought on a little bit after the project kind of progressed. So I should thank city staff for kind of getting me up to speed. It did take some time, but I should thank them for all that. And I do have some presentation items if I could pass those out just so you can kind of follow along.
The city clerk will take them. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Everybody has that distributed. I appreciate that. So as I started off, I am not from University City. So when I go through the property history, I'm sure you all may have a different opinion on what that history is. Okay, I did my best just doing some quick research on it. But it historically functioned as a nonprofit Coventry. And again, I point out not much tax benefit to the community. It operated as a group home until 2019. And then 2020, and again, this is off of Google Street View. If I'm incorrect, I apologize from that. But it's been in some various form of demolition improvements for some time. In 2022, the lot was rezoned, as Ms. Alvin said, to HR high density residential with conditions. And I just throw some photos on there from Google Street View. Those are the accurate dates, 2017, 19, and 25, to show just progression's been slow. It also shows some of the mature trees and things located on the site, which I do think is important as we kind of get into this. Okay, so the permitting process to get this parking lot, it is a small parking lot expansion to meet the need for the HR and to meet conditions of the plan. MSD, St. Louis Metropolitan Sewer District, they are a permitting player in this. They do handle stormwater, sanitary, those things. Since the improvement does not increase the differential runoff is the rate that water leaves the site by more than 2 CFS, and the disturbed acreage is less than 1 acre, there is no requirement for water quality. Okay, there is no requirement for water quality through MSD. I'm aware of that requirement. I did submit that to MSD because they are required to review every project that goes on within their jurisdiction. And I did receive that back. There is no requirement for water quality as part of this project. They did, however, have a requirement of a floodplain development permit because this parking lot is in a regulatory floodplain, which they have reviewed all of our information presented. However, the city is the jurisdictional entity that provides that floodplain development permit. Okay. The code explicitly is a section that applies to stormwater considerations and applicability to projects of 1 acre or more. Those things are also listed on there, and it also references that 1 acre. It also references MSD as being a permitting authority. You essentially piggyback on what MSD requires, and I just want to point that out as well. In January 2026, EE was notified that there were two zoning conditions. I point out 2 months later, we were in the permitting process for approximately 2 months in communication with Mr. Strickland and his colleagues. And that's when I became aware of the zoning requirements. So it was a time after. Obviously, my developer was frustrated with me to try to figure that out, but we got there. Parking requirements shall be met for the new use. That is condition 1. Parking spaces constructed using permeable material, condition 2, and then parking 3, a landscape plan should be submitted and reviewed. I also have a snippet on there of what was actually in in the packet of approval, just so I could show you exactly what was approved. I think that's important. So those are the 3 conditions as part of the rezoning. And now I'm going to go through each one of them and how they kind of go hand in hand. The redevelopment shall meet the parking requirement for the number of units. The total number of stalls required for this project is 33. 33. The total number of stalls provided with our site plan is 31 standard plus 2 compact equals 33. And that's important because we do meet that requirement. One may ask, well, how do we have such low parking requirements for a project like this? We actually have 2 public transportation depots on opposite sides of the project. We're able to get a credit for that. So that brings us down to the 33 number. I think one of the concerns by city staff is these compact spaces. They're shorter. They're not 19-foot long. They're 17-foot long. If you go to bullet point 2, staff report recommends that the 2 compact spaces not qualify for the parking stall counts and increase their size to standard. I took a snippet there of my plan. You can see there's a pretty large deciduous tree. It's actually a native evergreen tree, red cedar. It's irrelevant, but that's what it is. Our owner wants to keep that tree. I believe that fits into what the city's comprehensive plan of saving as many trees as possible. So it kind of goes hand in hand of why I went with a 17-foot compact rather than a 19. If I was required to go to a 19-foot stall, I would have to remove that tree. There is no other space available on the site. And that is the reason why I went with that. Again, 33 is 33. Just because it's 2 foot shorter please leave that up to the owner of the facility to manage that, not necessarily the city. Again, 33 is 33. Did that make sense? Did I explain that well of why the request is to keep that and why we went with the compact stalls? Condition number 2, additional parking spaces shall be constructed of permeable materials. And again, this was a zoning condition, not necessarily a city code condition. It also is not a requirement of MSD. Increasing pavement can lead to increased runoff. Quite honestly, common sense says it does. Nobody disagrees with that. However, this increase is so minor in the form of that it was actually 0.34 CFS, which is approximately 2 gallons of water per second, to be fair, but 2 gallons, 2.3. Minor increases, MSD does not have, they don't bother with such minor increases. Zoning conditions can be placed. We do acknowledge that. So city council, the zoning board obviously has the ability to do that. I could not find in the minutes, however, of why pervious pavement was the solution. Now, I'm an engineer. I'm not a politician. I don't sit where you all sit, but I do know that there are various solutions to various problems. That is my job. My job is to find solutions to problems. Now, you all's solution may be different than mine, but my solution will still meet the performance criteria set forth by the zoning board or the city council. So keep that in mind. Design of stormwater infrastructure should never be confined to one solution, because by being a board, if you confine a solution, you don't have all the details. In fact, this property has no storm sewer that attaches to it. Pervious pavement, in order for it to work, has to have a pipe underneath of it to drain it. If I have nothing to drain that pipe to, it essentially is a bowl of water that degrades much quicker over time. If I'm required to meet the design guidelines of pervious pavement, I have to hook that up to the combined sewer that carries raw sewage and stormwater throughout the community. I'm adding water to the system. Does that make sense? I'm adding water to the system because that is a requirement of pervious pavement. It is not the right solution for this condition due to I have nowhere to drain it. Okay. And again, I kind of get into the issues with pervious pavement, raveling of the aggregate. Raveling is a term of aggregate coming up. You probably see that in some of your parking stalls. It happens when your car turns. When you have pervious pavement, it turns, it pops up. You have raveling that occurs, which is potentially unsightly. Maintenance, pervious pavement shall be vacuumed regularly. If MSD required this, and this was an MSD required project, we would be required to have a maintenance program to which your staff, not your staff, MSD staff would come inspect it. Since this is not an MSD requirement, who in the city is going to inspect this pervious pavement to make sure it's working? It's a burden upon the city, or I'm sorry, the staff of the community. Okay, and if you want to flip over floodplain, the pervious pavement will be clogged during flooding and limited use. Pervious pavement gets clogged by mud. I think that's an obvious one. If it does happen, maintenance has to occur. Otherwise, again, you don't have pervious pavement. You have impervious pavement, which is the same as asphalt. Cost plays into this. Pervious pavement's expensive, but I just want to point that out. And then my design situation, pervious pavement needs an under drain. Again, I do not think it's in anyone's anyone would want us to add more stormwater to a combined sewer system that's hooked up to sewer laterals within buildings. Now, I do move on as we move forward, conditions of rezoning. I'm not asking to say we don't want to construct anything that offsets the stormwater added by this, the small amount of stormwater added by this. What I'm asking is give me the latitude to design something that meets the performance criteria. That's what I'm asking for. One solution that I've already came up with, we've already designed for, is modify the zoning condition to say additional parking spaces can be added, but the design shall ensure a net zero or reduction in runoff rate differential. That changing that condition to that allows me as the design engineer and the owner to come up with our own solution that meets the criteria of the site. Again, not specifying exactly what you want. This allows for flexibility in design. In the proposed solution, we're proposing amended soils, which amended soils is an approved MSD solution that essentially puts compost in the soil. You get greener grass, less maintenance. It creates a sponge. And I provided that runoff differential that shows that I can meet net zero by amending the soils on this property. I can meet the criteria.
If I can interrupt, maybe my colleagues feel differently. I'm a little bit as to why council is making this decision tonight. I would think this would be something that I assume that your client knew about. Just this real quick. I assume your client knew about the permeable pavement requirement all the way through.
The developer that I worked for did not, but that's what he told me. So I can't really speak.
No, I mean, I know, by the way, and I get that. It is
Yeah.
what it is. I mean, kind of the requirement was there. I would also say that I think I have a pretty good idea with my colleagues. I'm not sure that we're normally in the business of diving into these deals about the size of the parking spot and also whether or not they're permeable pavers. I'm a little surprised that is there a time commitment as to why it's coming up tonight, or is there not some reason that this cannot be worked out between staff and the applicant?
I can speak to what I was in.
Well, I guess my question,
sorry.
and I'm going to ask the city manager, and then I can ask you for your client. Is there some reason that this is on our agenda tonight and it needs to be a vote by council tonight? Because otherwise, unless I'm wrong, this ought to be something that staff and the client work out.
I will let, Honorable Mayor Crowe, I will let Becky, update you on that, but this is the first time I'm getting this today. All I have been told was that the request was due to the expense of the surface. This presentation came through this morning, and with this information, I would suggest sending it back through Plan Commission.
Yeah.
Since they were the entity that imposed the condition in the first place. That said, I'm not sure about the timing, so I will let Becky and Stephen speak to that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, no offense to everybody on this, and I wish the development great success, but this is not where city council shines, is getting involved in situations like this. So unless, Becky, unless you tell me there's a time commitment, this is to be no action by city council tonight unless my colleagues want to bring something forward. Becky, is there some reason this needs to come forward tonight from the city side?
I don't have a reason that it needs to be
Thank
here
you.
tonight.
Thank you. How about for the applicant?
Considering that we had this conversation in October of 2025, and now it is March of 2026.
You
I
can
was
say
advised-
that, but this council got it today.
Yeah, and I was advised by your city staff that this was the correct mechanism to go through. So
Okay.
I just don't know where to go.
How about, correct me, by the way, and I am open to anything from anybody. How about we table this for 2 weeks? It's on it's on our next agenda. And you got 2 weeks, and otherwise we come back through it. Is that fair enough for you?
That's reasonable. Thank you
Fair
very
enough.
much, Mayor.
To my colleagues, is everybody okay with this? I mean, to me, we give the staff and the applicant some opportunity. Yes, sir.
Honorable, please. I think we're thinking the same thing as we usually do. There are stormwater issues in this. I'd like to have this vetted through our stormwater commission because they have the connection with MSD as well. And I think they'd be a good resource for this. And that's my suggestion on that.
No, I understand your suggestion here, but if it's already been 6 months and you want to take the stormwater, you've already got the applicant at 6 months.
Well, the other
delay.
issue is this went before planning commission, not last year, back in 22. Am I not correct? That's the
Okay.
other.
Yes.
Got it. I'm with you. Okay, John, Mr. Teeman?
I would like to echo the comments of my learning colleague. I think there are issues here that we are simply not in a position to address, and that should be given over to stormwater as well, perhaps as the Green Practices Commission. I am very much in favor of listening if you have alternatives to the permeable surface stuff that will offset this. I'm not convinced that permeable surfaces in some way are not a solution. And I think that we can't simply excuse one place and say it's okay over here, or it's not okay over there. So I think these things need to be addressed. This is a site, well, okay, I've had enough.
Are you, I think if you were pushing for something to be approved tonight, that may be a rock you don't want to push up the hill, I would think. And so, yeah,
Well, and again, we've been working through this for essentially 5 months, and it's unfortunate that we can't proceed with, I mean, the redevelopment of this property, due to just really not knowing not understanding what the process is and asking the right questions. As far as one thing I did fail to mention was when I did originally submit the project, it was not a requirement to go to a site plan review because it was such a minor adjustment that was given to me. So I would prefer not to be in this position either. Trust me.
I'm sure you would.
So that being said, I was told that since this is not necessarily a city code issue, it's a zoning issue. Because again, it doesn't meet the minimums of what city code. This is a zoning situation, and I was told that this was the venue for that. So I apologize if I was.
You know what? We're always game for something new. This is, I've been on this a long time. This is the first one we've had like this in quite some time. Mr. Mulligan.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I've been involved in this since back at the Plan Commission meeting. I attended that Plan Commission meeting, familiar with all the facts. I understand the issues. I would suggest to the council, if there is a desire for staff and the Plan Commission to consider further, that perhaps we look at early April. My understanding, and Mr. Strickland can correct me if I'm wrong, the Plan Commission meeting is after the next council meeting. Is that correct? When will the next Plan Commission meeting be?
March 25th.
So if I may, I suggest that perhaps to the extent it needs to be revisited by the council, that being perhaps the first meeting in April.
Well, I think I'll leave it to the city man. I think most of my colleagues, I hope, would agree that we can leave it to the interim city manager's discretion to place it on the calendar when it has gone through the process, which I'm not sure how many commissions it needs to go to, because I understand both sides of this, but then that this will come back onto the agenda if necessary, if agreement hasn't already been reached. Councilmember Brenner.
Thank you, Mayor. When is the next Stormwater Commission meeting?
Well, and again, I think these can all be taken care of offline with the city. If the city manager is responsible for putting it back on the agenda, then she can determine when those commission meetings are and see if they can pop through. I don't know when the next Stormwater Commission is or Green Practices. I think having these folks go through 3 different commissions is a lot for a parking lot, but I'll yield to my colleagues on that one.
Well, for me, just getting their opinion on changing the proposed language would be to the net zero or reduction in runoff rate. Like, yes.
Ms. Sharp, you good to go?
Yes, we will bring the item back to you all in April. I think that will allow us time to get through any boards or commissions that we need to.
Mr. Neal, just thanks for coming this evening.
Thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it.
Honorable Mayor Crowe, members of the City Council, this next item asks you all to approve the facade improvement applications that were received for fiscal year 26. Becky will present them to you all. I do think there may be one that is up that the EDRC board recommended denying, but I'll let Becky tell you all about that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. At the last Economic Development Retail Sales Tax Board, the board considered the fiscal year 26 facade improvement applications. We received 3 projects for the application period this year. The board recommends approval of 1 application for Classic Coin Laundry, which is located at 7200 Balson Avenue, not to exceed $15,000. They also recommended denial of 2 applications for 6307 Delmar LLC and 6309-A Delmar LLC, located at 6307, 6309 Delmar, due to incomplete applications being submitted.
If I may add to that, I would also like to note that the applications that are being recommended for denial are for the former Three Kings building. That applicant has received facade improvement funding 2 years in a row. This is their third request. My recommendation for denial isn't quite based on the incomplete application, but based on the fact that this gentleman purchased this structure after the fire with a plan for rehabbing it, and it's like 3 years later, the building is still not open. There is no business there. He'd initially requested money from the city to undertake the rehab, and that was denied, as both the EDRST board and the city manager at the time, and I even believe this council could not quite stomach approving funding public funds for that project when there was insurance money that the previous owners walked away with. So I would like to see more progress with that building sooner rather than later before we would consider any more public funds invested in that property.
So what is your pleasure? Is there a motion to approve the recommendations as given by staff? I believe that was a yes by Councilmember Brenner. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Fuller. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving 1 and denying 2, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. We'll move forward. We have no unfinished business. We have no new business. Are there any council reports this evening? Councilmember Fuller.
Point of order, did we skip over item K2?
It was on the consent agenda. It was,
You approved the consent agenda. My error. Thank you.
happens to us all. Happens to us all. Anyone from council reports and business? If not, we have one other citizen request to speak. Ms. Rose Smotherson.
Good evening. My name is Rose Smotherson. I live at 1243 Purdue Avenue. I recently heard, and I need to verify, please verify for me, that why is the first and second wards tax money is not being used to fix the third ward streets. However, the third ward tax money is being used to fix the first and second ward streets or repair whatever. Somebody please get back to me, because every time somebody makes a comment, I never find the resolution. I can't find it anywhere, but please, I would like a resolution to my question, because these are my taxes and I live in a third ward. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. We have no further requests to speak. Are there any council comments this evening? Councilmember Teeman.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Oh, wait, I apologize. I skipped one. I apologize. I've got one left. I skipped it. Everybody's got to take their lights off. Mr. Patel. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Shout, clap, or whatever. I apologize. Please give your name and address. You have 5 minutes.
Apology accepted. Honorable Mayor, Council. I live in Third Ward, 1542 Raby. I wanted to propose a potential change in our parks. I think the parks closing at 10:30 p.m. is a little unreasonable. And the reason why I say that is, especially in residential neighborhoods, it attracts unwanted behavior once the sun goes down. I've seen drug deals happening. I've seen people having intercourse in some parks. I mean, I'm catching people urinating in the parks, like while I'm walking my dog. I think that we should perhaps take a look at if we don't have well-lit parks, like for soccer fields or whatnot, that the residential park should probably close at sunset, sunrise to sunset. And I say this because especially with the nefarious activity that does happen, when someone's dealing drugs or whatever, these are very fast transactions. But my house faces the park, and if something does go wrong and someone pulls a weapon, it's going into my house where my daughter's constantly looking out the front window. Right. So I think it's good. I think all the wards would probably benefit from people not hanging out in dark parks, teenagers smoking weed in the summer in the parks. I think it's just a good idea with what some of our other suburban neighbors around us do. And I think that's just something we should take a look at. That's all.
Thank you very much. I believe John, Councilmember Team, were you first, I believe?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, and to my fellow council members. I'm a little flummoxed that this business of impermeable surfaces should just sort of pop up. That this hasn't been referred to. We have some of the finest, most learned experts in our commissions on this, and that we haven't referred this to them. Furthermore, we have a problem in our city that something, I forget the exact number, something on the order of 42% of our city is impermeable. This is one of the largest in the state. It is notable nationally. And I believe that we can perhaps, I mean, I'm certainly willing to consider that stormwater and so on can be offset by a variety of means. I'm no expert in this, but that's why we have experts on our commissions to tell us what an alternative would be. And I think we need to start thinking about this as something that isn't an also. Yeah, and let's think about this too, as long as we're on the subject. No, it's something that needs to be central in our considerations because our planet is burning. We have flooding. Some of the people in our audience have been flooded and are having their homes bought out and so on and so on. I'm not saying anything that's new here, but I am saying that what I think we need to agree upon is an attitude that incorporates this as a regular part of our considerations and not a thing where we say, oh yeah, and there's this thing too. We should think about maybe, or that, well, it's going to be a little expensive, so I don't want to do it. Okay, fine. And we go there because it's an acre here, it's an acre here, it's a house over here, it's a flooded basement there, and pretty soon that adds up to a nightmare. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Next request, Councilmember Smotherson.
Thank you, Mayor Crow. I just wanted to say two things. John, I appreciate your statement about permeable surfaces because I've brought that subject up before. I've got 2 alleys that I'd like to be repaved with permeable surfaces, and that is right down the street from me. So that's the first thing. Thank you. But the second thing is just to let the council know that Mr. Patel's concerns are legitimate. He lives across the street from Raby Park. Raby Park has no lights, and there are issues that are happening in that park, and we really need to take this through the park commission and address the legitimate concerns that he has. Thank you.
Any other requests to speak? Mr. McMahon.
Thank you, Mayor Crow. I was glad to see at the study session that we're moving forward with the Third Ward revitalization. And I wanted to just back up, and I don't know if folks notice, I usually don't have a lot of council comments, and I usually try to listen more than I talk. But tonight I'm going to talk a little bit because I want to kind of back up. I've been involved with that project for almost a decade. I was in May of 2016, a member of our city council resigned, and it became a 3-3 council, and a lot didn't get done between May of 2016 and when I was elected in November of 2016. And things started to happen after 2016. I ran on a campaign promise of change, and transformational change is what I think the city has experienced over the almost decade that I've been here now. Soon after I was elected in November of 2017, within less than a month, I was at a meeting at Paulette Carr's house in December 13th, 2016. I have the notes at home, the emails at home, with Wayne Smotherson, Paulette Carr, Jonathan Brown, Rosalind Williams. I was there from the beginning. I was there from the beginning. I never abandoned that. I did what I was asked. I worked hard. That was my involvement. And I usually don't say a lot of I, because that's not how I am. I don't beat my chest. I don't need credit. Because when I take credit, it moves away from all the folks that were involved. We have to really open wide to understand this decade-long project that went on. If it's all about me, then what about the folks on the TIF commission that took all the heat, that showed up down at a building now that's got fence around it, that is now condemned, that we had so much going on. And I go back to that meeting with Rosalind and Blaine and Paulette and Jonathan Brown. And what was exciting wasn't that we were going to get a new place to shop, and I wasn't going to get a $1.50 hot dog, which I do eat. That wasn't what was exciting. What was exciting was the promise that we could hopefully build to get the work done in the third ward. That was what was exciting. And what we knew then at that meeting, when the three individuals were there, we weren't there necessarily as council member. We were acting as individuals, talking to a developer, talking to an expert, so that we could have a better understanding of what we could propose to our community. Because we needed to become advocates for change. And that's what we were going to work on. But what we knew at that time, there was an easy way and there was going to be a hard way. And the hard way was the better way. Because sometimes when you're in a position of power like this, the choice isn't about what is easy, but it's about what's right. And sometimes doing what's right means taking a step back so you can do things for the better of the good, of the whole. Even though I'm not getting something in my ward, the tax dollars might be focused someplace else. The importance of having the second ward, the third ward, and the first ward in that meeting was to, one, show the developer he had community-wide support. And so that we could then come and make it a public event, a public project, and make it work forward. And that's what happened. Within less than 2 months, February 9th, 2017, Paulette Carr, Wayne was there, council member Jennings was there, Mayor Crow was there. The mayor at the time couldn't make it. Michael Glickert couldn't make it. All those folks came forward. Jonathan Brown presented, and we all said, "This is great. Let's move forward." Staff, let's have a request for proposals. Let's see what we can do. And at that moment, it became a University City project. It was no longer a project of an individual. It was no longer a project of me. It was a project of a community. And transformational change doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because one person wants it or two person. We just have enough people to decide to do the right thing. And that's what happened at that meeting. And that's what's been happening ever since that time. So when somebody wants to take credit all you want. But everybody in this room, we had folks at meetings supporting this. Even the folks that didn't like it made it better because they told us where we might be making a mistake. So that's what this is about. And I am so happy, I am so proud that what we're starting to see, and we can disagree about the delivery, Rosalind, of this revitalization. We can disagree and talk about it, but we're trying. And we're moving in the right direction on that promise. And I was there from the beginning, and I'll be there till the end. Thank you.
Any other council comments this evening? I only have a brief one in that those of you who are parents who had children who would go to the University City Library may remember Marilyn Phillips. Marilyn Phillips worked at our library for over 30 years, leading the summer reading programs, telling countless stories and serving generations of young readers here in our community. She passed away recently after a very difficult battle with cancer. So with that, I just wanted to send our condolences to her family as we recognize her years of service to all of our children.
Honorable Mayor and my fellow council members, as the resident historian on the council, I'd like to remind folks that the State of the City address is pegged to the birthday of our founder, and that's why it's given when it's given.
Pardon me. With that, I would like to, I would welcome a motion to go into closed session according to Missouri Revised Statute 610.021, legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving a public governmental body and any confidential privileged communications between that governmental body or its representatives or attorneys and individually identifiable personnel records, performance ratings, or records pertaining to such employees. Is there such a motion? Motion made by Councilmember Fuller, seconded by Councilmember McMahon. Is there discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Brenner.
Aye.
Councilman Fuller.
Aye.
Councilman Smotherson. Councilman Clay.
Aye.
Councilman Teeman.
Aye.
Councilman McMahon.
Aye.
Mayor Crow.
Aye, thank you. Thank you, folks, for joining us this evening. Keena, thank you for pinch hitting for us tonight. We'll be down in executive session.